On one day in December 2025, close to 589,000 people crossed Singapore's two land checkpoints, nearly the population of an entire city passing through immigration in 24 hours. At the center of this system is a bridge barely 1 kilometer long, the Johor-Singapore Causeway. It is often described as the world's busiest international land crossing. The ranking depends on what is measured, but the scale is not in doubt. How did this narrow road become essential to two countries? And will a new railway and digital border finally control its queues? The Causeway opened in 1924. It carried road traffic, trains, utilities, and people across the Johor Strait, linking Johor Bahru directly to Singapore. It transformed both cities, but was never designed for today's volume. Traffic jams were familiar by the 1950s. The bridge was widened, checkpoints expanded, and a second crossing opened at Tuas. Each improvement created room. Demand grew to fill it. That is the problem. The Causeway is not simply a road, it is economic infrastructure operating on the scale of a city. Every morning, workers cross from Malaysia into Singapore. Families, shoppers, and visitors travel both ways. Trucks carry goods, buses feed the passenger halls, and motorcycles fill the lanes because they remain the fastest practical option for many commuters. In 2025, Singapore's land checkpoints cleared almost 60 million motorcycle movements. Add cars, and those two modes represented roughly 94% of all vehicle traffic. Pressure arrives in waves before work, after work, and before holidays. One traveller needs another check. One lane slows. Vehicles arrive faster than the queue clears. Within minutes, thousands of journeys stack behind the same bottleneck. The Causeway may look like an ordinary road, but every traveller is crossing between two sovereign countries. Identity must be verified. Vehicles and cargo may need inspection. Traffic arrives in waves, but both countries must keep the crossing secure. Travellers also pass through separate systems on each side. The bottleneck is not only the lanes, it is the number of safe decisions made one traveller at a time. More booths can help, but land and manpower are limited. A stronger answer is to make routine decisions earlier before the traveller reaches the counter. That shift is already happening on both sides. At Singapore's land checkpoints, travellers can use the MyICA app to generate an individual or group QR code. A family travelling together can clear immigration with one registered code instead of presenting every passport. Malaysia offers a similar option through MyNIISe at the Johor checkpoints. Travellers in a car can register their group under a single QR code. Eligible passengers can also scan biometric passports at Malaysian autogates. Clearance is recorded electronically, so no physical stamp is required. Travellers should still carry their passports and manual checks remain available. Digital clearance does not remove the border. It moves routine work away from the counter so officers can focus on cases needing attention. Software alone cannot solve a physical queue. The biggest change is a new way to cross it. The Johor Bahru Singapore Rapid Transit System link is designed to connect Bukit Chagar and Woodlands North in about 5 minutes. At peak, it can carry up to 10,000 passengers per hour in each direction. Travellers will clear both countries' immigration before boarding, then simply walk off at the other end. The final fare is not announced. Malaysia's Transport Minister has suggested 5 to 7 Singapore dollars each way, more than some bus trips costing $2 or $3. That difference matters. Buses remain attractive when price matters most. Cars, motorcycles, and taxis still serve journeys far from the two stations. Experts estimate the railway could shift up to roughly 1/4 of passenger movements from the road checkpoints. That is meaningful relief, not the end of Causeway congestion. Faster roads may encourage more driving. The RTS adds a dependable alternative. It does not make other modes unnecessary. The railway creates another question. At peak, the RTS could deliver up to 10,000 passengers an hour into Bukit Chagar and carry the same number in the opposite direction. They will not all become road users, but every arriving passenger still needs to leave the station. Johor Bahru's roads are already congested. An official study identified 77 hotspots, including 24 serious clusters. If too many passengers depend on cars, e-hailing or buses at the same time, the border queue could become a city centre traffic jam. Johor is upgrading junctions and feeder services, with more buses, pedestrian links, and a future autonomous rapid transit connection planned. But nearby construction is expected to continue when the RTS opens. This is the last mile test. The train can cross the border in 5 minutes, but success depends on whether Johor Bahru can disperse 10,000 people without overwhelming the surrounding roads. Road travel will therefore remain important, and Singapore is rebuilding the checkpoint that handles it. The future Woodlands checkpoint is planned at about 5 times its present size, opening in phases from 2028. Daily volume could reach 400,000 travellers by 2050. ICA's long-term target is to reduce an average peak period crossing from about 60 minutes to 15 after the full redevelopment. That is a target, not a promise. More capacity can attract demand, and no checkpoint guarantees short queues during every disruption. But digital clearance, rail, and a larger checkpoint address different parts of the bottleneck: processing time, passenger capacity, and physical space. The future is not one project that makes congestion disappear. It is a system giving travelers more choices. A commuter may choose the RTS for predictability. A family may drive with children or shopping. A bus may remain cheapest. Motorcycles serve destinations far from rail, while freight stays on the road. The difference is that these journeys no longer depend on exactly the same capacity. Some passengers move to rail. Routine immigration becomes digital. Remaining road traffic enters a larger checkpoint. Congestion may continue, but the system becomes less dependent on one narrow bridge working perfectly every hour. The Causeway's next chapter is a border where more machinery works before travellers reach the counter. Queues may remain and some pressure may move into Johor Bahru, but the crossing can become more predictable and less fragile. If the RTS costs around 5 to 7 Singapore dollars but offers a more predictable journey while the bus remains cheaper but may take longer, which would you choose? Tell us in the comments. So there you have it. That's what it turns out to be. If this answered a question you didn't know you had, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And if you liked it, tap that like button. Turns out, it actually helps a lot.